Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome back to our channel once again. Is it over for Raila Odinga? That is the question which most Kenyans are currently asking. Because earlier today, Raila Odinga was booed, heckled, and humiliated in Gusii Stadium.
Watu wamekataa baba bwana. Wewe
And for me, if you had to ask me, what happened in Gusii Stadium today should be a wake-up call for Raila Odinga, because it's going to set the pace and the tempo for other regions. In this video, I want us to do a critical analysis why Raila Odinga, alongside Johnson Sakaja and Simba Arati, were heckled badly in Gusii Stadium. But before we do that, for those who are watching the channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And with the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support, because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, something very interesting is happening. Yesterday, there was some food festival somewhere in Nairobi, and the song Ruto Must Go rented the air. Today again, in Gusii Stadium, Raila Odinga was heckled and booed. This is what happened. Immediately Raila Odinga arrived at the stadium. The residents who were at the stadium, some started singing Ruto Must Go, while some started walking out. When Raila Odinga finally arrived, the booing and heckling were too much.
watu wamekataa baba bwana.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you had to tell somebody 1 week ago that Raila Odinga would be heckled today in Kisii, don't think they would believe you. I don't think anybody would have imagined that the residents of Kisii would actually heckle and walk out on Raila Odinga. But why have they done that? In my view, number one, I think there's a very strong feeling amongst Kenyans that Raila Odinga has betrayed them. The move by Raila Odinga to join William Ruto is not sitting well with the majority of the people who have stood with Raila Odinga. Take, for example, the Gusii region. During the Azimio protest, forget about the VAT or the rest. The initial Azimio protest, Gusii region stood out. They still stood with Raila Odinga. But then, Raila Odinga goes to the AU, comes from the AU. The next thing they see is Raila Odinga signing a deal with William Ruto. William Ruto is the enemy. And that's where the problem is. So I'm not so sure how Raila Odinga is going to maneuver his ways and convince his supporters that the deal he entered with William Ruto is not an act of betrayal. Because if you are to ask me, even the way the deal was executed, Raila Odinga going to meet some MCS governor in the name of consultation, going to meet, Raila Odinga ought to have taken his time. I don't see why Raila Odinga rushed to sign that deal. Okay, let's assume he had signed it. What was the rush of going to meet people? Raila Odinga has always had intelligence. What has happened? Because it sent a very bad signal that the people who voted for you, the people who stood for you, the people who have always put their lives in line for you, can actually decide to protest, to walk out in your presence. Raila must figure out how he's going to convince his people that the move he made was in their interest. Number two, there is also a strong Fred Matiang'i factor in Gusii region. When Raila Odinga was in Gusii the other day, he made a comment about Matiangi. And according to Raila, Matiangi has not declared his interest because he was being pushed to support Matiangi.
My name is Mr. Makati. The Gusii community is also producing a son for presidency. And some feel like they have supported your party for too long. Perhaps is your party going to reciprocate to Matiangi running for presidency?
You see, there's nothing like a community producing a candidate. Somebody who is running for the presidency, running for the presidency of Kenya. You see, you cannot be elected president of Kenya on the basis of the Kisii votes, Kisii, or the Luo votes, or Luhya votes for that matter, or even the Mount Kenya votes. If you want to be elected, you'll be elected by Kenya generally. So that is something that we will deal with when the actual time comes up. Mr. Matiangi has not, as things stand, come up to speak, to declare that he wants to run for the presidency. So I don't know where you're getting that information.
I've talked to so many people. The other day was telling me, including Senator Onyonka, and he was telling me that the Gusii region is not fully behind Fred Okengo Matiangi. So immediately Raila Odinga then went and supported Ruto. The Gusii region interpreted that to mean that Raila Odinga had finally decided to support Ruto at the expense of Matiangi. Remember, the Gusii region stood with Raila despite the fact that there were some historical issues when Raila endorsed Kibaki and not Simon Nyachai, who was a candidate at that time. So ladies and gentlemen, the Gusii region have that beef with Raila Odinga. They feel Raila is supporting who? Ruto. The other time, 2002, he also stood with Kibaki. And they feel that they as a community, they've always stood with Raila Odinga. By the way, it's raining outside here. I don't know whether it's affecting the sound because it's a bit heavy, but hopefully we'll be able to go through it. Number three is William Ruto's popularity. The fact of the matter is that William Ruto has become very unpopular. Nobody wants to associate with William Ruto. But Raila Odinga is not supporting him. Let me tell you the truth. Even in Nyanza here, most people are yet to embrace that handshake. And that's why there's a strategy to create friction between the Kikuyu nation and the Luo nation, so that the Luos can feel that they need to support Ruto. Because you remember when there were a bit of those celebrations where Raila was defeated, which is not the case really. The truth is someone is out to ensure that the Luos and the Kikuyus are at loggerheads, because if that were to happen, then they'll be assured of the support of the Luo nation. Ruto is very unpopular. And because of that unpopularity, Raila Odinga is now becoming a victim. I don't know what Raila Odinga can actually do to salvage the situation. Number 4 could be the Gusii politics. There's the Arati factor, there is the Matiangi factor, Arati being in ODM, not supporting Matiangi. All those issues were adding up to the rage. And lastly, I also think that the Gen Z rage is still a factor. The Gen Zs are still very angry, bitter with William Ruto. There is something the Gen Zs in Kenya began. And I can assure you, they are planning to finish it. And that thing is Ruto must go. And Raila Odinga has not managed to manage the whole situation well. After entering into a deal with Ruto, some of his allies have exhibited signs of arrogance. Those are the truth. Even Raila Odinga, he ought to have waited a bit, because the timing. I came across a video of almost 1 hour, and I almost shed a tear over that video.
Masaa ya vita ndio unapigiwa simu. Masaa ya vita ndio unapigiwa simu na mwanasiasa. Mosi, uko wapi? Niko kwa nyumba. Chukua pikipiki kuja mahali niko. Hiyo ni masaa ya vita. Na wewe unajua baadaye huyu mheshimiwa akiniita nibebe kitu juu obvious, kila mara akinipigia kitu yenye najua naendanga ni vita, nitoke kama nimejipanga. Mtoto wake huwezi ona, relative wake huwezi ona. Wewe ndio unatumika, wewe mwenye uko chini. Wa Kenya tutatumika mpaka lini? Wewe ni Mjaluo, wewe ni Mkikuyu, unaambia tu wewe ni Mjaluo, wewe ni Mkikuyu, wewe ni Mkisii, wewe ni Mkale. Hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Sisi wote ni wa Kenya. Na ukiambia ufanye kitu usifanye.
Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye bye.